Good afternoon and welcome to MOROF, Medical Office Resources of Florida. I'm pleased here to be one of the presenters today as we dig into the differences between purchasing a digital telephone system or an IP VOIP service bureau. I want to get right to what I do for customers and how we're going to help you select your next business telephone system or service. With that in mind, my goal and mission is to enhance and improve the way people communicate using advanced computer and telephone products and services. Along those lines, medical providers and all of the vendors and associated organizations count on us for our service and to be able to deliver this technology so it gives them a competitive edge. So who do we help? We help people with new construction. And when you're looking at purchasing a phone system, there's certain things that drive why you're going to do that. So one of them is new construction. You're new in business and you're going to be moving into a brand new building, or you're leaving rented office space and constructing your own building. We also get involved with companies on the move. So they many times need to have cabling done at their location. They need their phone service switched over. They need to be able to get their internet service switched over to new locations, and that's when people come to us for help. Businesses that have multiple offices. It's a very important aspect of our business to be able to service them in what's called an enterprise environment, multiple offices. And certainly within the healthcare industry, that is a big one, whether it's accountable care organizations that are compiling multiple offices or individual physicians that are gaining more market share by opening up offices throughout the area. So this is one of the problem areas why companies call us. The others are more, hey, I'm moving, I'm growing, things are changing. And that's a real powerful statement that companies can make, and they need technology. But we also help companies when they've got real problems. And that's related to how they handle the phones. So certainly we talk about ring no answer. That calls come into the main switchboard or the front desk and they ring and they ring. And it's not 2 or 3 rings before they're answered, thank you for calling ABC Company, how may I help you today? Sometimes it can be 7 rings, 8 rings or 10 rings. In those circumstances, you could literally be driving away the customers you thought you were bringing in. The other one, please hold. I guess if they don't have the ring no answer problem, then they probably are beating the clock and trying to grab the call and say, please hold, I'll be right with you. Please hold, please hold. So whether it's long ring times or the please hold syndrome, we're going to help people put technology in place to ask them to hold for them. Make sure everybody is greeted the proper way and that you don't suffer from poor communications. We help all types of professional businesses. Accounting organizations, architects, engineers, right? We help medical organizations, provider offices, as well as large hospitals. So any type of professional business, but we do have, from a healthcare standpoint, we consider it a specialty. We know that there are so many more important things that they have to focus on and that we need to be attuned to. So you're selecting your next telephone system or VoIP service. It's complicated. So we have first option for you when selecting, and that would be the time when you are going to put an on-site system. IP, digital telephone system, on-site. Think of it as having the server at your office. Option 2 is the cloud IP and VoIP service. So that is where the hardware is in a main building called a colo or a co-location facility. That's where the brains are and all the equipment, and all you have at your office are telephones and the related switches and routers that are necessary to make this technology work in your business on your computer network. So 2 options we're really going to be focusing on today. Now both options have many of the same features. It isn't like I'm going to really be missing out on these 2 or 3 features if I go with the VoIP service instead of the digital telephone service. In our industry, because digital telephone systems have been around a long time, they inherently now have almost all of the features you could ever want. It's the VoIP service, the option 2, that's playing catch up. But I can tell you, over the last 5 to 10 years, they are catching up. So things that I used to say that system has, VoIP doesn't. This digital telephone system has this feature, VoIP doesn't. That's almost gone. Those companies, and you can imagine when you've got names like Cisco and Avaya and Mitel and NEC, these are major companies that have invested a lot to make VoIP work, that they are going to catch up at one point or another. And both options give you a selection of telephones and give you all kinds of features and benefits that you could have. But we literally, when making this decision about what we're going to purchase, whether it's a digital telephone system with a phone or a VoIP service with a phone, the phones have characteristics and features and benefits themselves that you may need, so you're going to be careful to make sure that you have those features. And we're going to go through many of them today so that you can identify those that are most important to your business. So a little bit more about this complicated solution. Again, the two options, what I'd like to focus on now, that is each option connects to the outside world, but they do it totally different. And this is where the challenges can come about and where we get into what I call alphabet soup. Because in our industry, we use a lot of acronyms. DID, PRI, T1, caller ID. We've got a lot of them. It's not much different than the medical industry either, correct? You've got plenty of different acronyms you use. We're the same way. But I'm going to try and get us through alphabet soup so that we can enjoy the decision we're about to make. Quality of service. Big differential here, and it's so important that you know that your calls are clear. That's what quality of service is about, is that conversation you're having on the phone, whether you called a customer or a prospect or vendor or a patient and vendor or personnel, staff called in, it has to be high quality. You should not be in the circumstance where there is a bad connection, not in this day and age. So let's first talk a little bit about telephones. You should select a telephone with certain key features. Okay? There must be an LCD display. You want to make an investment into a telephone that's going to last you a long time, give you the features that the display has, and know that if you were to ever resell that system, it has more value because it has an LCD. Now, why do we need that? Because we need the caller ID and the name of the people. It helps us move faster through calls when you've got the number there. You've got that number you've got to call back to because it says it right there. Whether it's the caller ID from their cell phone, which is really on the rise within providers' offices, or it's just giving you the name. It helps make the call flow. Headset mode. Very few people are using a handset for their phone call. Now, they should be lightweight, and we'll get to that in a moment. But more and more people, because they're typing away, they can't be cradling the phone between their shoulder and ear. So instead, they need to be using a headset. And these are Bluetooth headsets. This is the latest technology. The fluorescent lighting does not affect the Bluetooth technology. So you can actually walk around an office within anywhere from 20 to 40 feet and still be connected on your call clearly. And let's face it, that clarity is important. You do not want to be saying, will you repeat that again? Another feature is that lightweight handset. When you're selecting phones, lift it up. Does it feel heavy? Is it comfortable? Can your hands get totally under the cradle without breaking your nails? These are things that have been improved in telephone sets for a long time. So you want to see the phone that you're about to buy. Oh, and a long enough handset cord. Many times they put in these short little cords that really don't allow you to maybe stretch to one side or the other. You really should make sure that you've got at least a cord that can stretch 6 feet to 9 feet so that you have some mobility around your desk. And an interactive LCD. Now, this is not on every system, but when you have an interactive LCD, you literally have buttons underneath the display, and they will get you to your speed dials faster. They'll help you get to voicemail and play that back easier. You can be seeing delete on the display and hit that button to delete it, moving along on the call. But perhaps the biggest reason that we want to have that is for the conference calling. Many people don't do conference calling often enough to really remember how to do it, so they pull out the book and do it. But if you have an interactive LCD, usually you press conference call, it's telling you, plug in a phone number, you hit another button, connect to that call. It steps you through. So there's some great benefits to that interactive LCD for your telephone. Just wrap up a few more of those features. Select phones with programmable buttons. This is just a row of buttons that you can either put an extension number on, a speed dial on, or some certain functionality of the phone system that will make things really work smoothly for you. We don't expect you to use every feature, but having these programmable buttons makes it as simple as pressing a button to get something done. Different ring for incoming calls. The fact is, most systems now can say, this person at the front desk, ring, 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 ring. But this person is ring, 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 ring. And that one is ring, ring, ring. So whether it's distance between the ringing or a different cadence, what this allows people to do in an office environment is, hey, we're talking. Oh, I hear my ring on the phone. Time out, I'll be right back. And go and take that call. And others know what their ring sounds like. So it's a great little feature. People don't pay attention to it too much, but once they hear how it can help them, they certainly want to get that different ring. Make sure you have a last number redial button on the phone. Make sure it's got speakerphone so that you're communicating at a high level without having to use a handset or a headset. But if you go with a speakerphone, make sure it's full duplex, that both parties on either end can be talking and communicating at the same time without clipping, without sounding like they're in a barrel. Those are half duplex speakerphones. Old technology. Make sure your new phones have full duplex. And a voicemail indication. Because when you're roaming around the office and you see a little red light lit or flashing on your phone from a distance, you know you have voicemail. And of course, we want to be attentive to those voicemail messages and call people back as quickly as possible. Call forwarding, being able to take your call and send it to other locations easily. Forwarding it to your cell phone or to your home phone or to somebody that's covering calls for you during the course of the business day. Conference calling we talked about, but I'm telling you, you can get 8 people on a conference call nowadays. And in this mode of collaborative work in the workplace, you want to get folks on. And from a healthcare standpoint, that might be the doctor having in on the conference call the RN, might also have an MA, might have the pharmacy in on the call, may actually have another specialist on the call, might actually have the insurance company on the call. So when I can name 4, 5, or 6 people that you might have to have on a call, you should make sure that the system you purchase, again, whether it's an on-site system or the cloud-hosted solution, that it has those 8 party conference calls. Do not disturb with customizable messages. On the screen, you're going to see that I have Do Not Disturb, and almost every phone system has it. Press one button and walk out the door, and when people come to your phone, it immediately goes to voicemail, or immediately goes to your cell phone, whatever you've set up for it. Some systems do not have the customizable messages. So when you see on the screen here that a letter is in bold, it means it may or may not be available with other products and services. There may only be a few selections to have a customizable message. And that customizable message could say, I am in conference room C. And when people are looking for you in the business and they call your extension, it comes up and says conference room C. And they can go and meet me. Some of them allow me to actually enter in, I'm at lunch at my favorite restaurant from this time to this time. Those customizable messages give people the right expectations as to when they can reach you. So just another key feature, music on hold. You can always get music on hold on a digital on-site phone system. Not always the case on the hosted voice. So if you have long hold times where people could be on hold for 20 seconds, a minute or 2, you want to make sure that the service you get can definitely handle music on hold. The biggest and most popular feature we have today on both systems, whether it's on-site or on the Service Bureau Cloud Service, is the find me, follow me. So what we've basically done in programming is we've set the system up with pre-programmed information. It could be that when a call comes to my extension, the first thing I want you to do is to play my voicemail message if I don't answer. But if they choose to speak to somebody else, I want it to send to my secretary, right? But if the secretary's not there, I don't want it to go into her voicemail box. I now want it to find me on my cell phone. And if it calls my cell phone and I don't answer, I want it to try another location. And if you're lucky, you have a system that's actually trying all locations at the same time. Doesn't matter where I'm at. Somewhere I'm going to get that call. I'm going to pick it up as if I'm right there in the office. So the find me, follow me, because people are so much more mobile in their office environment, is a key top feature. It's one of the most requested, and people are most receptive to using that feature to be able to stay connected to the outside world. And then paging. Most of the systems allow you to page, but it comes out of the telephone. And that will take care of 90% of customers and their business environment. But for those other 10%, they need a connection to overhead speakers, paging devices, so that they can be heard throughout the office area, and for people, the receptionist or operator, be able to make a page and know that they could be heard even if they're not near a telephone. Pretty important to be able to keep people connected. As you can see, the connection to overhead speakers and horns is not always there from your hosted solution, option 2. Option 1, you can always count on it being there. And then reverse voice. Again, it's highlighted. Reverse voice is actually being able to be on a call and another one come in and then be able to whisper to you without this person hearing, Hank, I need to speak with you. And I can actually press a button while on the call with this person and answer back and say, I'm on a call, I'm going to be off in 5 minutes. Will you ask them to hold? Or will you put them into voicemail? Or will you put them on hold and I'm going to get to them in 10 seconds? But you hold that button down and you're actually sending back a voice to the person calling you. It's a pretty neat feature, not always there in these other environments of the hosted voice. So if it's important, you want it. We need voicemail no matter what. Now there's some organizations that don't use it for all parties. And I think you will find in the medical field that we really don't use voicemail a lot. We don't give the provider, the doctor, a voicemail box. They won't check it, they're too busy, they want things printed out right in front of them. Okay? But we do find that the appointment desk, they have overflow. So they are going to be utilizing voicemail in their office. So voicemail is a must for both internal and external messaging that goes on for staff as well as the outside people. Call screening, nice little feature. It's not there on all systems, but it's literally listening to people leaving a voicemail message for you and you hear it through the speakerphone of your phone, and you decide whether you want to grab it or not. And even while it's playing your message, hi, this is Hank Landry, I can't take your call personally at this time. You want to grab that call, you can. So that's the call screening. Several people like that. I think you've probably all used that at one time or another on your own personal answering machines at home. Call, park, and page, pretty straightforward. You want to be able to take a call, park it somewhere so that you can then make a page and say, Hank, you have a call. And for me to easily be able to grab that call over page zone 2 or page zone 4. So it might be, Hank, you have a call, zone 2. Could be, Hank, you have a call, and that's all they say. And I know that they've parked the call on my extension. And if you didn't understand me for a moment, I'll spell that, P-A-R-K, park the call. I'm having a little fun with you now. Cascading message notification. This is used in doctor offices quite a bit. It is something that if this is how you want to handle calls after hours, that this is the time to make a very important decision. Many doctors' offices continue to use live answering services. and they're of great value. They'll answer your calls during lunchtime, breaks, and after hours. But some folks say, you know, this really isn't a big emergency, or if it is, I want to use voicemail and not keep paying for that service over there. So what they do is they may have an after-hours mailbox that says something like this: "Thank you for calling ABC Healthcare. Our office is closed at this time. However, if you hold because you need to speak with a medical professional, you will be asked to leave a message and we will call you back." Now, if they hold, we send them to the voicemail box. We say, "This is the after-hours voicemail box. As soon as you leave a message, we are going to be notified and we will call you back." Right? Now, that message goes in. All of a sudden, the doctor gets a page. Maybe the doctor sees on their Android or iPhone that they have a voicemail because it's sent as a message in email, and they can play it back, call the person back. Well, the cascading part is, let's say it goes to the first doctor, and he's in a movie theater and has his phone on silent. Well, after 30 minutes, we can say, "Call this provider." And if that provider doesn't call back in 30 minutes, we can go to yet somebody else. So this cascading of messaging is to make sure that people get the message. Distribution lists are used quite a bit, more so years ago than now. It really made voicemail simple. I could go in, dictate one message, and have it sent to all of my staff. And their voicemail lights would be lit and light, and they'd go and they'd play the voicemail message, and they'd hear a message meant for the whole company. It could be something like, "Folks, don't forget that this Saturday we've got our company picnic. It's going to be out down at Lake Eola. There's going to be plenty of food and games and fun. I want you there. Please RSVP and let us know whether you will be able to attend." That message goes out. Everybody hears it. Everybody's happy. Family company picnic. Way to go. Why is that less now? Because of email and text messaging. It's taken away that responsibility from voicemail, but there's still many companies that like using voicemail in this fashion. And if you're one of them, you want to make sure that your system has it. Email integration pretty much across the board is now part of it, which means that voicemail message you left, they can take the voice, put it in an audio file, like a WAV file, and send it to you via email. Pick it up on your computer and listen to it over your speakers. Pick it up off your Android or iPhone because you've got voicemail and listen to it then. So we're trying to get the voice over through email and keep people connected and make it happen faster. The call routing, we talked a little bit about it earlier. It's deciding how I want the calls to follow me, and realize that voicemail is usually part of that. It usually isn't ring my extension and then ring my cell phone, right? It's usually ring my extension, go to voicemail, then maybe go to my cell phone. But you have this flexible call routing that's pretty important. Message notification, we've talked about it, whether it's calling you on your phone, sending you a text message, lighting a light, we need to be notified because voicemail should be an action-oriented part of your business day. And then record a call. And that's actually recording the conversations that are taking place. It has many attributes, but you can see that it is highlighted in such a way to say that it's not always available on phone systems. It's not always available on the hosted cloud service either. So if you need somebody to be able to press a button and record a call right then and there, well, why would they want to do that? Maybe to ensure accuracy. Maybe they're going to play that message back after talking to the patient, or the customer service rep is going to play it back to make sure that they got this detailed order done right. Or maybe the pharmacy person is recording each of the calls to make sure that the quantities and the description of the medicines is accurate. So being able to record these calls can be pretty important to companies and organizations. When the message is left, it goes into your voicemail box for you to be able to play, be able to transfer to other people, and be able to keep information going. Record a call is also many times used in organizations that might suffer from the bad aspects of society where there's threats, where maybe a past disgruntled employee or a customer of yours that was unhappy about waiting 10 minutes before an appointment, whatever it is. For those aggravated people that sadly decide to get frustrated, they go and they make some threats to your organization, it's sometimes nice to have the voicemail so you can capture their voice, what they're saying, and send it to the police. So now, what are the problems that we sometimes find in the provider office specifically? Because these are the areas that I want to focus on and help you with. So one of those key areas is the appointment desk, your intake. You've got people coming up, they're signing in, they may be in rows in front of 2 or 3 different folks at the appointment desk, or maybe it's one person that everything goes through. But many times that is a bottleneck, and we want to solve problems there. The billing and insurance department, you can imagine there's plenty of phone traffic that goes there regarding, I was billed incorrectly, I don't understand my bill. And these may be the departments we have to say, thank you for calling the billing and insurance department. Please hold, your call will be taken within the next few moments in the order that you called. We've got that in the referral service, calling it concierge referral service. We're trying to become more personal with our patients. We're trying to give them referrals. Well, we've always given them referrals to specialists, but we're elevating things in the doctor's office. So sometimes there's more calls and more people waiting for that referral person, so we have to answer for them, ask our caller to please hold. We will take care of you. Lab results, certainly another area where people are calling in, have my lab results come back. Are you ready to tell me whether I need to come back in for another appointment? So another high traffic area, and the prescription refills. But I'm going to tell you, we don't talk to anybody hardly at all anymore on the prescription refills. We're really at a point in time where we just simply say, for prescription refills, press 6. Right? It goes into a voicemail box that says, please give us your name, right? And it can ask question, answer, or it can just ask one big question. Whatever it is, please leave your name, your phone number, and the prescription you need refilled, and who is your doctor. And based on that information being left, they can now pull files, they can put them right in front of the doctor, they can go through one right after another and start approving and making changes as necessary. All meant to improve customer satisfaction. So what do those areas specifically have problems with? Well, first of all, everybody is looking to handle the call in the best and fastest way possible, making sure that you're taking care of the client. Whether it's a customer, client, vendor, a fellow staff person, another doctor, we want to handle their call professionally and fast. We want to stop those hang-ups. We want to stop the hang-ups, because people, if they ring and ring and ring and ring, call them later. They may never call back. So we need to capture them. Those long ring times, those complaints, these are some of the challenges in these high traffic areas. We also want to reduce errors and delays. The best example I can give you is that we utilize software now to take that caller ID information from the caller, put it into the database, do a search, and bring that patient information right up on your EMR system. Right? Well, the alternative is that the call comes in, your staff are typing in, right? They're trying to do the searches, and those simple little keyboard errors that happen 1 in every 10 times mean they have to do it again. And there may be a delay. And if they're delayed handling that call, they're delayed answering other phone calls. So we utilize the technologies when we can to reduce these errors and delays. And then main thing is, let's deliver results. It's about customer satisfaction. Let's utilize this technology as a tool, and as I said earlier, as a competitive advantage, because not all medical organizations are utilizing this technology. You could be probably not the first, maybe not the second, but you could be one of these organizations that actually get that competitive edge. So there are some automated capabilities that I want to touch on. We handled a little bit of the automated attendant, but let's put it this way. The automated attendant is going to either let the phone ring 2 or 3 times to your staff, and then if the staff don't answer, then have the automated message, thank you for calling ABC Medical. I think that's the best way. I think if you have 1 or 2 or 3 people that can handle some percent of calls personally before the technology answers, you should utilize it. And maybe that's for the smaller organizations. On the larger side, though, we're certainly going to answer. We're going to say, thank you for calling ABC Medical. If this is a medical emergency, please hang up and dial 911. Otherwise, if this is a routine medical call, please hold on the line for assistance or press 1 to schedule an appointment. Press 2 to get a referral. Press 3 to speak with your MA regarding your lab results. Press 4 for a list of our doctors or individuals. Press 5 for billing and insurance, and of course 6 for the pharmacy or prescription refill. Otherwise, please hold for assistance. Pretty typical. You want different modes. You want a daytime mode to play out your regular message. You want a lunchtime mode that's different, that says you are out to lunch, repeat your hours for coming back into the office, and you definitely want something or someone answering after hours. Call distribution, automatic call distribution. What we're basically doing, whether it's call distribution or call queuing, we're looking at one person or a group of individuals, and we're going to send the calls between them. And we're going to try, what an ACD does is to try and even the workload. We don't want all the calls to go to this person first, then to that person, and then that other person. We would prefer to even the load so that that person does not get burned out, that that person doesn't complain, I take more calls than everybody else. So an ACD is all about fairness and reporting and being able to show how many calls we handle, how quickly are we handling the calls, knowing that the automated message is telling people to please hold on the line, your call will be taken in the order it was received. Having it wait for 30 seconds until somebody answers. And after 30 seconds, if they don't answer, maybe you set it for a minute. Maybe you set it for 2 minutes because you have those types of hold times. But give out the information of expectations and then use overflow. I love multiple offices because in many cases, while the appointment desk might be busy, say, in Orlando, when people are on hold too long, maybe we can take the call in Altamont at that appointment desk. After all, they have access to the same scheduling software. They can do appointments for folks. So we've got to really leverage that technology to make sure that we're handling things, but we need a please hold message. We need to give out information that is more accurate about how long we expect them to hold. And remember, when you do have drop calls, because we're going to give you reports, I'm going to tell you, you have so many phone calls per hour. This amount of people hung up after 2 minutes of wait time. But guess what? You had 20 people out of 100 that hung up within the first 15, 20 seconds. Now that's not a problem with your organization. What that is individuals who are on the go. And you know what? If they get an automated message, I'll try later. So you will get a lot of hang-ups initially in that first segment of 18 to 20 seconds because people realize, well, I'm not talking to a live person. They got me on hold. I'm going to jump from this call to another one. I've got more things I need to do to be productive. But certainly the ACD with the please hold message and the overflow, whether it ends up in voicemail or not, is some excellent ways of using the technology. And perhaps one of the favorites in the companies is that computer database integration with the medical records. Your electronic medical records have your patient's information in there. We are identifying your patients more and more by their cell phone so that when the call comes in, rather it coming from a home that could be 2 or 3 family members, right? We take that cell phone number and we know that is for Betty or that cell phone is for Jim. Whoever it is, we can take that information and we send it into the database and we bring that patient's information right up in front of you so that you can act faster. You can handle more calls. And that's the screen pop. Bring the database up right to that client. Appointment reminder system in the medical office. This is that opportunity to finally get the calls made to reduce the missed appointments. Any doctor's office that is not calling their patients to remind them of their appointments the next day could be losing out on anywhere from 5 to 25% of their appointments by not making the calls. People will tell you, oh, gee, I would have done that if you gave me a call. I forgot completely about that. I didn't write that down. I didn't do this or that. Well, the fact is, many folks in the afternoon, the appointment staff, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they've had it. And to pick up the phone and start calling people and reminding them of the appointment, a lot of them just don't do it. Or they do it, but it takes them too long to get through it. So we're using automation, and everybody's used to it. So isn't it better now to simply pick up a call and say, oh, I'm hearing a message from my doctor's office. It's asking me if I'd like to press 1 to confirm my appointment with Dr. Smith at 2 o'clock at the Orlando office. And I press 1 to confirm or 2 to cancel, right? And now the next day, the office comes in and they might find that they had 3 or 4 cancellations the night before. And they can book those times. Because quite frankly, the day before, they were keeping a list of people that said, hey, just fit me in any time. You can fit me in tomorrow. I'm flexible. I just got to get in to see the doctor. So they're almost like a hero the next morning when they call somebody and say, hey, we had an opening up at 10 o'clock. Would you like to come in? So this is going to help us out a lot, and it's not just by phone. You can do it via email and text, and each office is differently. We've got some medical offices that call them, text them, and email them. But they've received information from the patient that says how they want that communication to take place. We do the same thing, by the way, with the lab results. So that during the course of the day, an MA could actually go into the system and say, send them this message. And they pick up the phone, and it could say, this is Dr. Smith's office calling. We wanted you to know that the lab results were negative. The test results were negative. Some organizations still send them out and say that there was a positive test, and we need to meet with you and would like you to press 0 now to schedule an appointment, right? You've got them on the phone. Each organization's different as to how they utilize it, but again, we're using technology to free those staff members up to do what they do best, which is to get those appointments scheduled, deal with the people that are coming into the front desk, move them through the system. We talked a little bit about call recording. My main emphasis here is that it can be used in a lot of different ways. Supervisors usually are the ones that are using call recording to make sure their staff is doing things correctly. Let's face it, if you've got information on all your appointment desk folks, and you know how many calls they should be handling, and how long those calls normally take, if you've got somebody that's taking 10 minutes to handle a call, where on average everybody else is at like 6 minutes, we're going to listen to call recordings and see if we can pick up hints as to how to make that staff member faster, but giving customer satisfaction that they're doing the job. And many times listening to recordings of other staff members help them find out the best way to handle a call and how to move the call on. Because many times, and I think some of you will probably shake your head in awareness on this, is that the elderly will take a longer time on the phone call. They need patient people and stuff like that, but they'll also feel rushed. And we can't have that. We need them to feel good about things. So we really have to take the calls the right way. A supervisor using call recording and playback in the right way can actually improve the staff and keep people from leaving their job there for some other place. It's not going to be a while before this is really used, I think, in the medical area. But you have to realize that in the rest of the telecommunications industry and computer industry, people are using this media blending. Because we now realize that not all the business comes in on the phone. But if I've got a group of people that I'm sending calls around to, what do I do with text messages that come in from the website? Many times calls come into, somebody's in on a website and they hit chat, and you need to respond. And sure, you're going to have some automatic messages going back, but quite frankly, that's like a live call. So we need to get it into the group or to specialists within your organization to handle it. While I don't know if the website chat is really going to take off, the area I do believe it's going to happen is with the Androids and iPhones with the apps. There are so many medical apps out there for taking my temperature, for checking my sugar levels, for doing all these things with the phone. I actually imagine at some point when it says that you can't, the blood pressure that you have right now is such that it triggers my phone to call the doctor's office and have somebody talk to me to calm me down. Maybe I just had too much coffee that morning. All right, so not a lot of high use right now with the media blending, but it is coming. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the gold standard of communications, because this is now where we get hot and heavy into the hosted VoIP in a service bureau right? Versus buying the telephone system or renting the system and having it on site. The gold standard is a digital telephone system that's hardwired to telephones throughout your organization, right? And that can handle these advanced capabilities of the PRIT1, 23 lines on one circuit of 4 wires, that can handle the DID and the caller ID technology. So that's our gold standard. You can't go wrong by buying or renting a digital telephone system for your enterprise. So why would anybody go to VoIP? Why would anybody go to something other than the gold standard? I'm going to share that with you, but what you need to know is in the digital telephone system world, it's very much the same as the VoIP world. You're going to see similar names. You're going to see Avaya providing phone systems on site and a service bureau at a co-location location. Cisco, NEC, Mitel. Okay, so Nortel's on the list, but I only put it there because prior to about 3 or 4 years ago, they were the second largest phone company in the world, and they made great products and services. So much so that when they were going out of business, they were faltering during financial challenges and bankruptcy, that Avaya bought them. So again, this is the gold standard with these different companies, and while Nortel only exists through Avaya now, you'll see that these same companies are the ones that are also working in the hosted voice arena. And they're all compatible with the local service providers, right? That's part of the gold standards. You can utilize AT&T, Bright House, CenturyLink, TW Telecom, Windstream. They all have a standard set of products and services that will tie in with any of the phone systems. So, hosted IP VoIP Cloud Service, is it right for you? And is it done right? So the first thing you need to know is that it is a digital technology, just like a phone system, okay? And if done right, it works, and I can tell you it's tested, tried, and true, okay? It is up there with the gold standard, but it is doing it right that is seemingly hard to convince vendors to do for you. And we're going to go through some of those challenges today. So it's right for you if you have 2 or more offices. You have multiple offices, hosted VoIP services is a good way of going down that path. And we also help you with those ACDs, those different call groups, the overflows, the dialing, extension to extension. So it can do that. If you require a more flexible way of upgrading everybody, and with these ACOs, these accountable care organizations, the way they buy up doctor's offices here, buy them up there. Well, what happens is they get a doctor's office here, they had that old Nortel. They never upgraded. The system's still working, so why do anything with it? But then they buy an organization that has NEC, somebody else with Mitel, another one with Mitel, maybe another one with Avaya. Well, with all these different platforms, the IT department, the management of the company, it's like, oh my goodness, this is not good. We've got different service providers at each of these locations. Some are better than others. Hosted voice makes it easy to get everybody up on a new platform and get rid of that old technology. It's also good for those that do not want the capital expense, because you could spend $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $100,000 for new telephone technology. But with hosted, they've worked it out so that's really a monthly amount. You pay as you go as opposed to having that capital expense up front. Okay, so some of the cloud service providers that we want to talk about, again, tested, tried, and true. You'll see I have some hosted IP VoIP providers. Bright House, 8x8, Magic Jack, Star to Star, Vonage. There's literally hundreds of companies out there. There's probably only like 25 to 30 real providers, but there's like 100 resellers. They never have to leave their office. They never go to your office. They just quote it over the phone as a reseller. And we're going to find that that could lead you to a problem. And we're going to talk about some of those problems. But here's a sample of some of those companies. What's gold? The gold standard in hosted voice is having a dedicated point-to-point circuit from your office to CenturyLink. Dedicated, not going out over the big internet, out in the cloud, dedicated point-to-point. Dedicated Bright House to you, Whoever your service provider is, dedicated point-to-point cuts out a big problem, and we're going to talk about that now. What is the problem? Sadly, most of those service providers that I put up there and most that you'll come into contact with don't do things the right way. They put your call out over the public internet, out in the cloud. So your call goes over your computer network, out over this internet circuit, and could go, okay, it goes to Orlando, hops to Tampa, then goes to Atlanta, and then back to Orlando to talk to your customer. And each one of those hops creates something called latency, delay. And it might only be milliseconds, but milliseconds add up over time. The real problem with latency is that I don't hear everything. If we drop packets, in the data world, we're dropping words. I want to give you an example. I talked to one of my clients, and he said, Hank, I decided to go back to a regular telephone system on site when one of my clients placed an order. I was so happy to get that order that day, and I shipped him his order. He asked for 100 of those widgets. Customer called the next day and said, thanks for getting my order out right away. Tell me that's a partial. I ordered 100,000 of those units. Wait, I shipped you 100, you wanted 100,000? Now how can you miss that in a sales call, right? The problem with latency and dropped packets, it drops words. It drops syllables. You can't have that. And we've actually run into circumstances where a legal organization was threatened by the judge because their calls kept getting disconnected. There was this latency, and they had to keep saying, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Could you repeat that? Could you repeat that? And a judge dealing with a case over this conference phone situation, he had enough. And he actually told the lawyer that they would be put in jail if they didn't get this problem taken care of. You can imagine that I helped that lawyer get out of a bad VOIP situation that he was in by the way, I was able to use all his same telephones that he bought with the VOIP for his service on my phone system that I put in place. Again, VOIP works when it's done right. The gold standard is the point-to-point circuit. You won't get that with Vonage. You won't get that with 8x8. You won't get it with a lot of these companies. I will tell you, and I am a partner with Bright House, you get a point-to-point connection. I can get a point-to-point with TW, Telecom, but I've got to request it. I've got to know why I want it. Most customers do not know what they don't know, so the vendors just put it out there and they end up with what? Latency problems. The other part of the gold standard is that in the office you have a computer network. Well, your phone call is going to go out over that computer network. We need to have QoS, quality of service. We actually need to say that this voice call has a higher priority than any other data going out, right? Which means, oh, I went out to a website. Guess what? The voice phone call took priority. So that call is being made and it won't have latency if we have QoS. But it's not always installed with the QoS. And that's an important part in a mixed computer environment. Sadly, a lot of companies suffer from this latency, those drop packets because their internal network's not right. Much like if they didn't have the point-to-point, the external network isn't right because it's going over the big open internet. And they put up with the following. Drop packets means lost words, and you will hear them say over and over again, can you repeat that? Think about having to say, can you repeat that once, twice, or 3 times a day? Imagine if you're saying that once, twice, 3 times a conversation. Can you tell now that there's a big difference between hosted voice as a gold standard versus it just being treated as a general product and service? So, it's digital technology, it's done right, a gold standard. What's it cost you? How does this all come together? And I'll tell you right now, you can see that you'd get a telephone set, they'd set this whole system up, you'd actually get your phone lines and everything included in this bundle, at about $30 to $40 a month. Let's say you got 20 users. On the high side at $40 a month, that's going to cost you $800 a month for those 20 phones every month, but it includes the phone line cost as well. Whereas a digital phone system, I've got a digital phone system, I have a monthly cost for the service for that PRI and some other things. And I'm going to show that's going to become a little bit clearer in a moment. So what do you have to look out for? Sadly, look out for those promises of, oh, hey, we're only $15 a month. We're only $99 a year, the Vonage thing. Well, you know, you spend $99 a year, you better be the only person making phone calls. Because if you've got a lot of other things going on, it's going to be choppy. There's going to be latency. You're not going to hear the whole conversation. All right? So be careful of that. And that's when I tell people, get your 30-day guarantee. Whether it's from me or any other provider, get a 30-day guarantee that says, I can leave your service without penalty. You have to change me over to another company to get my phone lines over to another service. Right? You have to take the phones back that I bought from you. Don't buy the phones. A lot of them want to sell you the service. They want to put the phones on you. You got a problem with the phones, or you got a problem with the service. They'll say, oh, it must be the phones you bought. You don't want that. You want to get your phones from this very same company you're getting the service and get that 30-day satisfaction guarantee that you can return everything and go to a new service. This gives you an example of the pricing on the system. You'll see that I've based this on a monthly reoccurring cost. Whether you were getting your own phone system for on-site, what I'm showing is a monthly amount. Okay? So we look at the $300 under option 1 for the on-site phone system, and for 20 users, that's about what it would cost for you to rent a phone system. To lease it, maybe a little bit more, maybe $325 a month. Or there's no monthly amount and you spend, for 20 phones, you'll spend about $10,000, maybe $8,000 to $10,000. So you either put in cash or you could possibly rent the phone system. Look to the right, option 2, for those same 20 users, it's $700 a month. Well, what's the difference? 300 versus 700. Well, remember, the 700 is including your phones, much like the 300 was, but it's also including the phone service. So when you go to that second line down and you see the PRI, that's the circuit that we're going to put in connected to the phone system. So you have 300 plus 375. You got your $500 internet cost no matter what. Maybe it's 200, maybe it's 100. But it's equal either way. You're going to use the same internet. So bottom line is we come up with, for a phone system, $1,175 a month. That includes your phone service and phone system. On the option 2, you're at $1,200. Now, most people lead with the fact that VOIP will save you a lot of money, and it will save you 30 to 40% on your bill. But that's not doing the gold standard. You can see that even the gold standard is almost equal to what you would do for a telephone system and monthly service. So they're actually pretty appropriate. It is those folks that aren't doing it as a gold standard that you'd probably run into the problems and be wanting to get rid of their service quite a bit. So, hosted IP VoIP Cloud Service, is it right for you? Well, is it? There's lots of questions and answers, and that's why we deal with each client individually. We sit down with them. We go over all these different questions. We need to know how they're using their EMR, whether the EMR is on site or in the cloud, what they're using now for phones, what are they used to, what kinds of changes they need to make. So there's a lot going on. I'd encourage you at any particular time that you're looking to make a decision about what's right for you, is to at least engage me in a conversation and know that it will help be a leaping off point for you to be able to talk to the other vendors and make sure you get what's right for you and your organization. With that said, I'm Hank Landry. I appreciate your time today, and I hope you found the presentation to be worthwhile. Thank you.